Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
So yeah. All right. I just wanted to welcome everyone. Welcome Kent for joining us today on this Lunch and Learn, and also the participants. I really encourage us to be interactive and ask questions as we go. So this is like super casual. So let's go to. And our topic today is why a biking vacation is in your future. Joining us is Kent from Exodus. He's the business development manager, for Western Canada and US. And I have asked Kent to join us because I have done one of their tours before, and it was my first introduction to biking tours. And I was pleasantly surprised, I must admit. So, Kent, do you want to give like a brief overview of Exodus? And yeah.
Yeah, sure. A quick, we actually just celebrate our 46th birthday this year, if you can believe it.
Wow.
And which is funny because I'm 46. So Exodus has been around as long as I have. And I've worked for the company for 4 years. I've worked in the travel industry for, if you can believe it, almost half my life. As a travel agent, manager, tour leader, kind of all across the globe. And I always loved Exodus. I used to actually sell Exodus to my certain clientele. I always did adventure travel. And there was always something I loved about it. I loved the fact that they focused on small group, active, getting away from kind of the big crowds into these really special, small, unique places, kind of off the beaten path around the world. And I mean, I've always been active, but I never really was a cyclist. And when I found out, okay, well, it was the dream job for me. I wanted to work for this company because I love hiking, and now I'm completely addicted to cycling trips. And kind of the same as you, when I first did mine, I went to Jordan on my first international cycling trip, and I wasn't a huge cyclist before working for the company. Yeah. And that trip changed everything for me. I've traveled the world over, and it completely opened my eyes to a new way to travel. It was so much fun. The people on the trip were amazing. I felt so much better doing that style of trip than I ever have. I ate better, I slept better, and I came home feeling this great kind of accomplishment. And so I've done 4 now since, and I've just completely fallen in love with it. And I talk about it all the time with everyone that will listen. And I want everybody to enjoy them because they're amazing. They're just so much fun in it. And like kind of what I like to get across with these trips, you don't have to be a super athlete. You don't have to have a lot of experience, whether you're doing a hiking trip or a cycling. It's for a lot of first timers. So there are ways to kind of go through about active levels and options for bikes and things like that, and types of trips that you can go on to make it as comfortable and accessible for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So my boyfriend used to do some guiding as a cycling tours. Yeah. And he's like, we really need to go and try and do this. And I was like, dude, the extent of my cycling is along the Valley Trail to get to the sailing club or the village or the bar. Exactly. And so I was very hesitant to do it, especially as part of a group, because I thought, I'm going to be at the end of the pack. I'm going to be holding everyone up. It's going to be like just a nightmare, right? So we took the self-guided option for the Jurassic Coast a few years ago. And the places that we got to see along the way were just so different to what you would see if you did a driving tour or a guided bus tour or
absolutely
that kind. Like we got to bike through one guy's farm because that's where the national trail goes. And I thought, this is amazing. So I'm pretty keen for my next one. I did have Scotland on the list, but we'll see.
We'll sort you out.
So yeah. But I also wanted to ask you, I feel like biking vacations are gaining in popularity, and they are evolving. And do you want to speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, and again, kind of reverting back to what I was saying, I think initially when you thought, or people thought about cycling trips, they thought about these it's either, you know, a race like going to do the Tour de France, or
Yeah.
or doing it like really independently, you know, oh, I just got this old map and I'm trying to figure it out along the way and stay
Yeah.
in B&Bs and what have you, or for cycling clubs that organize a group ride. But nowadays, like I said, it's kind of, you know, we're finding a lot of first timers, a lot of couple, like of all different levels, because
Yeah.
it is more accessible, because there's a support vehicle, because you can hire an electric bike, which has really changed everything. And I've been on trips with the people that had the electric bikes, and they did it for comfort, and they did it, and they wanted to kind of get an idea how the bike trips work, and then realize that, wow, I can do this. And the fact that you're with a group of like-minded individuals. And there's lots of options. So do I want, you know, and again, it used to be, okay, you could either cycle, maybe there's a few areas in Canada, US, or maybe Europe, which has been very cycle friendly for years, but not really the rest of the world. And now the rest of the world's catching up. You're seeing cycling take off in places like Vietnam, Morocco, India, parts of Africa, Nepal. It's amazing. So it's becoming a global phenomena. And now, I mean, even before COVID, but COVID's like, I tried to find a new bike. I couldn't find a bike. The bike stores are doing a killing right now.
Bike sales have gone through the roof.
Right? Everybody is jumping on the bike bandwagon, which is fantastic. This is what we should be doing more of. And then you realize, I love this. I can go abroad and drink delicious wine and eat amazing, healthy food, and go through, like you said, small villages, and go places that you will never see on a big coach or on a ship or what have you. And it's such a unique experience. And I think that's why they're becoming more popular. And as soon as you come back, you talk about it, right? And you're excited about it. Yeah.
I also noticed fat biking. Like there's a couple of options for fat biking, and I was like, that's amazing. You can literally do it year round if you wanted to, right?
I know, and I've been asked by like people like, what does fat biking mean? Like, you know, they didn't know what it meant. And again, for a lot of people, it's not common. I mean, here, especially in Alberta, we have tons of those because of the conditions of snow and what have you where I live. But Finland, like one of the top destinations in the world to go, you fat bike along the Russian border and stay in these old logging cabins that are converted with saunas, and amazing, right? So, and all different styles, road, hybrid, you know, the hybrid road style is the most popular. You can do mountain biking, you can do fat biking. It's a bit of everything.
Yeah, and the option to take it a little bit easier if you have younger ones traveling with you as well, right? Being able to do that as a family, and
well, and that's what you said, like you did a self-guided. So there are the guided trips and then self-guided. So, I mean, the guided trips, you're typically with a small group anyways, which is a lot more manageable, but the self-guided is perfect for a family, you know? So, and I know a lot of families that have gone, and you kind of go at your own pace, but everything's set up. And unlike the old days where you had the old, you know, hilarious map, but that's all like marked up and you're trying to figure out where to go. Now you have GPS, and now you have all the technology, so you're not going to get lost and be left on the side of the road.
You don't have to
fight to take you to the next stop, right? Or I don't know where I am. Silly tourist.
I know, right? And so what, like, especially for me, you know, it was not something that I had considered, but for me, one of the benefits now that I see about doing this type of vacation is that it's active. I don't come back thinking like, oh, I ate too much or drank too much. And I got to see different places that other people won't have seen. Like the ruins that we got to see while we were biking were fantastic and off the beaten track, right? And are these the kind of reasons why people are wanting to take these biking vacations? As there other particular standout reasons?
You cover a lot of it. I think you know, as we are, a lot of people are focusing on more active, healthy lifestyle. That's a big reason. You know, they want to, you know, why would you want to go on a holiday or a trip overseas and then feel horrible when you come home? To me, you know, it's counterproductive. I want to go away. I want to feel good, enjoy what I'm doing. And then I also want to feel good when I get home, you know, and I'm rested and I'm in, you know, good shape to get back to work mentally and physically. And I think that's really changed and evolved where people are really recognizing the importance of this. And like you said, you come back with this whole new outlook on the world, because you are seeing things that you typically wouldn't have seen on another holiday in the past, or you would ever imagine, like meeting the locals like you do, or getting away from the big crowds like you do on these style of trips. So I think, and also just the bonding for me, I've met so many amazing people on cycling trips that are really culturally intuitive and respectful of the locals. And it's that bonding too, I think that really moves a lot of people. And the photography.
Yeah.
An opportunity if you love photography. So many wonderful pictures.
I remember we had obviously we had someone picking up our bags in the morning, taking them to the hotel, so we didn't have to take that. In my carry cases, I had water and I had 2 cameras, and I just kept stopping and taking all these pictures. And I was like, okay, so I'm not actually traveling that far, but it's taking me a long time because I keep stopping.
All around every corner, you're like, what? Look at that bird. Look at that tree. Look at those flowers. And that's a race,
and the fact
right?
that there's no one else around.
And you've got time.
It kind of goes towards. It goes towards that more the trend in travel to be more sustainable, to not just go to the Venices and the Londons and the Barcelonas. It's getting you away from the crowds and seeing a different part of the country and culture. And the fact that you, especially on the self-guided tours, you can have lunch anywhere along the way. So you're supporting the local businesses there, as opposed to big chain.
A big restaurant where you eat at a buffet and they just funnel you through like cattle, right? Like it's huge. And now more so than ever, right? With COVID and what we've seen moving forward and moving ahead, this is what more and more people are going to want. They're going to want to be kind of in the more regional, away from those big urban centers and crowds and such. Absolutely.
So for someone who's considering their first biking tour or vacation, what are the things that you recommend that they consider before they agree to do it?
That's great, because I didn't even know before mine. I got there and I'm like, okay, I could have thought about this. So I mean, it changes all the time. But first and foremost is understanding the level of the trip you're doing. So speaking to your trusted travel agent, and and doing your research. Like, so we'll list an active level. Where is it? How many kilometers are we riding per day? What sort of shape do I need to be in? I say all this, but I'm terrible. But anyways, preparing, right? So do I need to get out and cycle 20K a day, or can I go on my spin class every day? It's about preparing so you're comfortable once you get there, so you're not completely in the dark saying, oh, I didn't sign up for this. We give you to talk to your travel agent and get the tools for how to prepare. So that's number one. For me, there's a few things, having, when I travel, I bring all my little snacks for the ride. I've got my proper gear. Padded shorts are a must, and I have my cycling gloves and my helmet. So having the right gear, the breathable cycling shirts and that, I bring all that stuff with me.
Because sometimes you just go up those hills and
having the gear. And then, okay, do I want to be on a regular bike, or am I going to be on an electric bike, or am I a couple going on a trip that one's at this level and one's at this level, and we want to enjoy riding together? What sort of bikes are being used? What's my experience? All these things are important. Number one is having a wonderful attitude. And just because cycling trip is not like a regular trip. It's not as like hand holding every day, and it's not like at 12:05 we're going to be blah blah blah, at 12:07 we're going to it's not like that. There's
you have to be flexible, right?
You have to be flexible. You have to be kind of a little bit laid back about it as far as timing and just enjoy.
And a sense of exploration. One of the things I loved about the self-guided was that in the instructions it had, this is how you get there, and along the way you can go here, 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 and here.
Yes.
But if you go this way, you can go and see that, or if you go this way, you can see that. And I was like, but there's too many choices. How do I decide?
I want to do it all.
Exactly. I want to see it all. So instead of my 50 Ks a day, it'll be like 80. But anyway, because
And that's fine, right? Some people may just want to do the limit. Some people may want to extend it and go see a bit more. But that's the pleasure of doing one of those where you can choose.
And I felt like they gave us the time to relax while we were on our vacation, but we were still being active. So that was really nice. It relaxes the mind because you don't have too many commitments, but you're still doing something. You're not just sitting on a beach reading a book or being
exactly. And at the end of the trip, you're still refreshed and you're still energetic, and you're not completely worn out and like, hey, I'm done. I want to sleep for 3 days. It's all about balance, right? It's a balanced holiday between enjoying a fine meal and a glass of wine or a beer and having some downtime and free time as well. And that's kind of the whole compass, plan of the trip.
Yeah, for sure. So looking forward to the end of 2020, because there are some borders starting to open, and 2021, because we're hoping for a positive start. So do you have any new destinations or trips that you want to share with us?
I wish I could go through them all because I want to go on every single one. Well, I've been looking in the last few days, and there's a few. I mean, the Balkans is really open. Like Eastern Europe to me is the perfect place because Eastern Europe not only is there's so much mystery about it. I did the Baltics, I loved it. Lithuania, but Albania, Montenegro, Serbia, Kosovo, all these places are, there are less people, which is nice traveling there. But I found it so hospitable and affordable, and it's not as busy and crowded. And so Eastern Europe is like the Balkans. We added that trip a couple years ago, and it's just taken off. And then there's some really fun new ones. Like I was speaking to you about the Cotswolds, like one of the most beautiful natural areas in Northwest England. I've spent time up in the Lake District when I lived in the UK. It is beautiful. It's stunning. It's a wonderful place to go walking. Recycling, but Cotswolds, the Wild Atlantic Way around Kerry in Ireland, and I thought Ireland is one of the most amazing places on earth.
That's Provence. On my list.
Yeah, that's a good one. Provence, and I've talked to people that have cycled in Provence. It's a wonderful place to cycle. There's just beautiful little villages and amazing vineyards, and they're obviously known for their wonderful bread, desserts, food. So those are a few. And then, I mean, again, Europe is definitely going to be kind of that first step, I think. And then once you open up into, like I said, I was supposed to do Southern India. I'm still really wanting to do kind of the Kerala region, hiking. So, places that are a little less heard of as far as the cycling. Sri Lanka, probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life, is really taken off as a cycling destination as well. So there's more and more all the time.
I feel like we started with, a handful of tours
France and Italy.
4 years ago. And now all of a sudden we're doing Sri Lanka, we're doing India, we're doing the Baltics. It's like, the whole biking vacation scene has really exploded, and there's so many more destinations now to experience. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'll tell you what, my highlight again, every trip I love the most, Puglia Matera in southern Italy, down the southern hill of Italy, was unbelievable. Like, I would recommend that part of Italy to anyone. We were there at the end of September while it's flooding up in Venice, and in a lot of northern Europe, they're getting a lot of rain. 25 Celsius, we're swimming in the sea. Unbelievable. Just beautiful little UNESCO heritage little towns and villages, incredible food. The people were amazing. So that's my other places down in kind of the southern hill of Italy that is kind of now starting to get recognized by North Americans. Yeah,
for sure. All right, well, perfect. I wanted to see if there was any questions that we wanted to take the time to answer now. So Kathy, do you have, you're nodding your head like there's something you want to ask, so go ahead.
So glad to hear that you have e-bike available for people.
Yeah.
And do you teach them before they go out on their tour? Some of these people have never ridden them before, so do you spend a morning going through that?
Yeah, so when we do like the first, so day one, when we meet the group, we kind of get together with the tour leader, the bike guide, and kind of have this is kind of what our week entails, and this is what's going to happen. And then they give you all that information, question time. And then that following morning typically is when we go to our local bike start. Like it's usually a shop or a little studio, if you will, and that's where the bikes are. And the bike team gets the bikes out, the regular one, the e-bikes, we go over them, we check the seats and the brakes and make sure everything is, if you want to put your own pedals on, we put those on, what have you. And then, for the electric bikes, because they are a little different than regular bikes. They are getting lighter, but they're a little bit heavier, and you got to, realize how you're still cycling. It's not you just get on like a scooter.
You can't just cruise.
And go. You're actually still cycling. But it's so funny because I've been on a few trips and there's been some real jokers, and they've been going up a hill in Italy. We had this older psychologist. He was hilarious, and his wife was well ahead of him. She was amazing. And he'd be going up the hills kind of laughing at us, waving us, and we're like sweating. He's just going past us on his electric bike, just do. Yeah, they do that. They will, and along the way too, if you need any adjustments, if you need any assistance, it's very well thought out and very safe, and absolutely.
And the wonderful thing, do you have GPS trackers on the bikes or on the people?
So you typically will get more on the self-guided, more access to that on self-guided, just depending on the trip, because typically on a regular scheduled trip, like a small group, the guide is going to be and they're going to be, always stopping at a certain point if it's the paths that diverge and such. So I've never really had issues with that, but more so on the self-guided. Yeah.
So on the self-guided, they have a list of contact details if they get lost and those kind of things, right?
So someone there set you up with the bikes, and then emergency contact along the way. The luggage all gets transferred. Yeah.
That's super. And I imagine when you went to Jordan, did you go to Petra?
Absolutely.
Oh.
It was a childhood dream. So it's funny because I lived actually in the Middle East in the mid-90s, but back then, it comes and goes, but I actually wasn't able to get into Jordan at the time. I was living in Israel, and I wasn't able to get in. I was very upset. So this had been the first time I'd been, into Jordan. And since I watched Indiana Jones as a child, I've always wanted to go to these certain places. And so it was always on my list. And we actually spent 2 days there, and you can do Petra by day and then actually do Petra by night. And they have it all lit by candlelight. And it's really, it's a very special place. Yeah.
Yeah. For
and
sure.
very different than cycling in Europe, but amazing.
Yeah.
So as far as tours in all the countries around the world that you have, do you have many that you're doing in, I haven't had a chance to look at your website yet.
Yeah.
So where are your new tours this year, depending on how things open?
It's tricky based on, because I think for most people, we're going to see, we're hoping, let's cross our fingers, at least from North America, into 2021, right? We're not going to get a ton of travelers going in the fall. I really hope we can get North Americans going over in the spring, summer. But like I said, there's quite a few new ones in the UK. The other place too that's really taken off for our self-guided is Bavaria. Like we have some really neat, unique trips in Germany, like castles and mountains and
I was just looking at the
really
lakes and mountains.
Oh, it's wonderful. And actually quite a few, like Italy, I would say is one of the top destinations to cycle, just for so many reasons. But they're looking at South America as another place that's really becoming an interesting place, like Argentina and Chile. Beautiful place to cycle as well. And of course, if you like wine, it's okay too.
Yeah, and you've got that one in South Africa too.
Just because they dedicate a lot of bike routes, and they have special paths, and actually the South Africa is a great one too, because then you get the best of both worlds. You can do the Cape region, the wine region. That's a really popular one. They have the Cape Argus, which is a race they do every year. So there's there's too many.
Yeah, I know, right?
Southeast Asia, like Vietnam and Cambodia as well, I'd highlight is a really great place to cycle.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm going to wrap it up a little here because we wanted to keep it short and sweet. So just to be aware of everyone's time here. So if anything we have discussed, if you have any biking vacation inquiries, feel free to reach out to myself. I obviously work with Kent and make this happen. So that's my contact details there. And then I just wanted to thank everyone for joining us and Kent for taking the time out to share with us all this information and to share the excitement. And and I'm just going to share that the next Lunch and Learn will be in August. Yeah. On the 11th of August, I've pushed it out a couple of weeks just because we're all starting to get a little bit busier. So I'll be joined by Wendy, who it works for the tourism board in Peru. So we'll be talking about that. So yeah, again, thank you everyone for joining us today. And I hope that we get to go on a biking vacation adventure soon. Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, I know, right? All right. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining us, and let's connect soon.
Keep cycling.
Yeah.